Islam, Islam, Islam. Happy Holy Day. I'm going to start off with the Moorish American prayer. Please rise, face the east. Two fingers on the right, five on the left, feet at a 45-degree angle. Islam. Allah, Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day. It was Holy Prophet, true Ali. Amen. I have a reading of the Divine Constitution bylaws. Salvation, Allah, unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Shiek and Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is in power to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Shiek is to assist the Grand Shiek in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on Friday, the first man departed out of flesh, and ascended unto his Father, God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Love, truth, Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger of or accuse falsely his brother or sister any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister because of Allah's love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and partial of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. The organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and a partial to this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865, during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and a partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line of all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, with the guidance of his Father God, Allah. Noble Ali founded. Moorish American prayer. Allah, Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Moorish Science of America, Home Office of Noble Drew Ali, Chicago, Illinois, United States of America, or USA. Islam. Islam. Hope all Moors are doing well this holy day. I'm recording this, and it should be available by tomorrow. Islam. What I want to, and I'm gonna open my camera up. So we have. I just want to touch and say that we had a successful Moorish Independence Day last Saturday. It was definitely, members showed up. Not everyone, but that's all as well. There's a video. It was recorded. The demonstration was recorded. We put it up. You can check that out on our page. Moorish Mission 28 on Facebook. Islam. To be truthfully honest, I put this together because I wanted to, for the most part, it didn't come to me exactly how I was going to construct this particular demonstration. But I knew exactly what was pressing me to speak about and what I was being pressed to speak about. My message actually is coming off of, I know we on Facebook, Islam, and we many times we engage each other, we engage other people, and we get a lot of feedback and a lot of thought. Particularly this week, we came across a particular thought that expressed the idea that within the context of the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, more scientific America, we do not teach God consciousness. A particular individual expressed the idea that, God is the black man. The black man is God. Allah, God, Allah and the black man, the black man is Allah, or, the black man is God. We don't necessarily use the term black because we understand that these particular ideas, using the term black, debases us because it's not necessarily a term that we created for ourselves. And we know that this term was used to separate us from our reality, separate us from our true consciousness and our true self, and keep us in a position of servitude. We don't necessarily hold to that term. So no, the black man, in a sense, to the Moorish American, is not God. Now, we would say the original man is, God, or in a sense, that has levels to it. I just opened up with the Moorish, the Divine Constitution bylaws of the Moorish Science of America. We say the original man. You look at Act 2, it talks about our holy day. Why is it our holy day? Because on a Friday, The first man was formed in flesh, and on the Friday, the first man departed out of it and ascended unto his father God Allah. You understand the concept of that? First man. First man is not a physical man. First man is of a substance divine, Islam. So within that substance, that in that position or that station of existence, you are the closest there is to the divinity or that which we know as Allah. Man, being stuck in particular in the idea of flesh and identity of my nose, my lips, we understand we're the first manifestation here on this planet. But this is even just a phase. Islam. So to say that our dear Prophet Muhammad Ali did not teach of God consciousness is basically within the realm of not knowing or ignorance, because you don't study. You never, people outside can never really take down the study material, or you're looking at the material with fleshly eyes, and not the eyes of the divinity connected into Allah. And it's not spookism. It's not spookism at all. What do you think the ideas of Kemet when they talked about God and the flesh and so forth? They didn't do that and you know, say that was, you know, they weren't dealing with the physical. They always knew the spiritual, and they combined the spiritual. They knew to withdraw the spiritual out of the flesh. What I mean by that is they didn't dwell on what things appeared to be with their physical eye. And they taught beyond that concept, to master the physical. So the physical won't master them. That's why you have the high market or the Sphinx. Body of a lion, head of a pharaoh, head of a, well, some say a woman. They made it out to be actually the face of the Sphinx to be a woman. And the reason why is that, why? It's because the soul is what rises out of the flesh first. When you talk about first man, you're talking about the soul. So when the soul comes in, the soul is in the flesh. The soul has to depart from the flesh. And you'll see when we go into the text. But back to the Sphinx, Islam, the Sphinx has the head of a woman because the soul is feminine. It doesn't mean we're women, but the nature functionality of our soul is a feminine function. It has a feminine function. So it's feminine energy, it's a feminine force, in a sense, because it's the one that nurtures and cultivates. It talks about peace. It's the one that calms the flesh. The spirit is the master of the duality of both, in a sense. Spirit doesn't dwell in that function. The spirit is a part of Allah. It's the highest level obtained because it's the level at which we can. So I'm not going to tarry too long because I want to get this out, and we need to discuss the actual materials. Where can we find this? So I'm definitely doing this to address, but this just needs to be shown. God consciousness inside what we teach. Now, I'm not even going, because the actual topic can be drawn out to days on end and to a finite time, to where there is no time. Because there's so many ways you can look at it and the lessons that come out of this particular, with that particular topic. Is on. So let's go into our lessons here. Go into our lessons. Let me share this. So Islam, I hope y'all can see this. I'm gonna actually go start it. Islam, beginning our discussion. Are man and God one according to the prophet's lesson? God realization. First, I rise and give praise to Allah, who is the essence and dwells within our essence. Giving high honor, giving honors to Allah's prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, etc. Honors to the one chosen amongst us, Prophet Nabi Ali. Giving honors to the forerunner, Marcus Isaiah Garvey. Honors to the more scientific of America and his first appointed Supreme Grand Chief, Edward Mealy. Giving honors to the current Supreme Grand Chief, K. Dangerous Ill, and honors to the past Supreme Grand Chief, D. Bailey Ill. Let's talk about realization first. I think we have a concept of God. I know we speak of God, we speak of something that's supreme, something that's superior, a force, or it can be a being or yourself as you think in yourself, but at that tent when you mean God, you mean the one that's in control, that's head. Islam. So realization. Because in order to talk about God realization, you have to understand what realization is. What is a realization when you have a realization? And we'll talk about, let's go to the second definition. It says an act of being fully aware of something as a fact. I realized this, okay, I just realized you're supposed to do X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying? But I just realized that if I hit Control C, I copy. And then if I hit Control V, I paste what I copied. I just realized that. Something cardinal in that nature. So it's something, you come into a realization. Now you have similarities. Now you can see through my point here, and it says consciousness. You have awareness, understanding, comprehension, consciousness, a highlighted consciousness. Because that's what we want to point home on that. Because that's what realization is. It deals with conscious mind, having a conscious mind or something. But what is consciousness? Being consciousness, what does that mean? That doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the knowledge of what you know. See, this is the difference, because if I give you knowledge, I'm departing or imparting information into you. Okay? That doesn't mean you have a realization of that. That doesn't mean you're truly conscious of that. That just means that you have a knowledge of it. You may accept the knowledge, so yeah. But to truly have a consciousness or realization of it, your conscious mind has to basically embody the knowledge, or it has to conform to the knowledge. You understand? Islam? Consciousness, the state of being awake and aware of one's surroundings. If somebody falls asleep, they're unconscious, or wasn't aware of what they were doing. They're conscious now. So therefore they can move about, or they understand where they are, and since they're awake, right? Awareness or perception of something by a person. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I have conscious mind of something, or I have perception of something, I'm conscious that I'm in the woods and I need to watch my step when I walk, because they could be whatever traps or whatever, so forth and so on, animals, insects, that's being conscious of my body. Check out the third one. The fact of awareness by the mind of itself in the world. Consciousness emerges from the operations of the brain. Your brain produces your consciousness. Your brain produces your realization. Okay, this is a basic functionality of consciousness. Okay, but it gets deeper than that, Morris. It gets deeper than that, people. Just look, Islam. Of course, you have your conscious and subconscious mind. Islam, you have your conscious and subconscious mind. Let's go from the right side. As it says, conscious awareness is closely associated with the cerebral cortex, intricately folded and connected sheet of nervous tissue. Each experience corresponds a specific set of neural activities called or neuronal correlates of consciousness, NCC, in a posterior hot zone of the brain that consists of parietal or occipital or occipitable and temporal lobes of the cerebral cortex. Complexity of the neural excitations after a magnetic pulse yields a measure of the degree of which a person is conscious. So every time you go through possibly a reality coming into your mind, or you grabbing hold of a reality or certain truths or certain facts or whatever, your conscious mind shifts to that. Your foreconscious. Within your conscious brain, things happen. Even as a child, your neurons are still not fully developed. So your neurological strands or strings don't even fully develop. But as you learn more, your neurons, you begin to produce more neurons. You produce more strands, more cords within your brain. So sometimes, and it can become a bad thing too, because what happens is more is sometimes that you're learning and the chords become to build a pattern that you can't break, or it's hard for you to break. You can break it, but it takes time. Where as a young person, as someone young, like a child, it doesn't take much for them to learn. It's harder. It's easier for that's why people try to introduce languages to children at an early age. First, I remember, I believe it was at a time in high school, you didn't take a second language until you were in high school, right? But now they're teaching kids second languages in elementary school. Because it's easier. By the time they get to high school, they could be fluent if they continue to stay committed to learning the language. So the conscious mind, your frontal conscious mind, is what we're gonna explore basically later. But that's what your conscious mind is. It's aware of what is going on right now. It's aware of what's going on right now. What's in the map? What's happening in front of me? I got this laptop in front of me whatever. I'm on Zoom, I'm recording this, I got the AC on, I'm my fez, I'm wearing my fez. Well, this is my conscious, I'm aware of the time right now. I'm in the now. Okay, I'm in the now. Islam. Now, let's locate our subconscious mind. Both hemispheres are covered by a thick layer called the cortex. We all talk about the cortex. Okay. So you got two hemispheres. You got the right hemisphere, you got the left hemisphere. Cortex is the conscious part, responsible for logical thinking of the brain. I just explained. It's the logical part. Another small part of our brain lies between the two hemispheres and connects them. This little part is called the limbic system. The limbic system is involved in regulating emotions, fight or flight, responses, motivations, and habits. The limbic system is what we call our subconscious mind, responsible for our feelings. So the limbic system is the one we're talking about, contemporary science now. It receives the messages and processes them off the base of your instinctive your disposition. You know what I'm saying? So you may see on your conscious mind, okay, that's a dog. Okay, you may see a dog, right? You're aware that there's a dog in front of you. Now, when the dog starts growling, your conscious mind sees the growling, but your subconscious mind begins to determine whether to be fearful or be angry. Some people, they get angry when the dog's bark. They're like, why you don't, basically, sometimes some people are not fearful. Sometimes people are angry in certain situations and they're ready to fight. So it's going to be whether to be fearful to fight or angry or fearful even to run. Okay. So subconscious mind, that limbic system picks up that, but translates it through the emotions and all those type of things. Now, this also we deal on the level of autism. Someone who's autistic, the frontal cortex is not that developed, or it isn't developed at all. The frontal cortex receives signals, but it may not, the logic part does not necessarily translate it. So it'll go straight to the limbic system. And it deals with the emotional part, the fear, those type of things. So it's going to respond on that level. So you'll see certain things where patterns might be out of order, or the routine of the day might be disrupted. So someone with autism is going to react not out of logic, but out of emotion, fear, flight, frustration. They're not going to say, oh, well, things happen. Well, I'll wait until the next day to do it. And this is not just autism. This is also with certain people whose frontal cortex is not fully exercised. Sometimes you got to exercise it, because what happens is you may feel a type of emotion through a certain situation, right? But remember, your limbic system, but your cortex is what brings forth the logic to help you filter what you should do in that field. Okay? But the subconsciousness, for the most part, it deals with all our emotions. We develop those things too. but after, you know, basically sometimes there's memories from past experiences that are basically lie within the subconscious mind, and they give birth to, so a lot of times, the emotions, or the, you know what I'm saying, or how we feel right now. We don't know it. We don't know it. This is the subconscious mind. Okay? We talk about chapter 1 of the more Holy Quran. And I say right here, chapter 1 explains how the soul was given a body of flesh and a function on a plane and manifest. Why do I say that? Because the conscious mind is connected to the soul. The conscious and the subconscious are connected to the soul. The conscious mind is basically your soul in tune with the now. Okay? Is your soul in tune with the now. Is what it receives and where it basically is aware of what's going on around your soul. That's the first, that's the level that's actually connected to, you know what I'm saying, the now, what's going on. Then there's the subconscious. Subconscious is also connected to the soul, where the emotions and those type of things are feeling. Now, the soul is the type that has to regulate between the basic conscious mind and the subconscious mind, because it's feeding signals, it's receiving the signals, are basically passing through it all the time. See, these things are developed after the fall. During the fall of man, the chapter is called the fall of man, the creation and the fall of man. So during this fall, these things started to develop. It talks about the soul taking on the body and those type of things, but at the same time, if you study the mind, you'll see that the mind, the pattern of the way the mind is, and I'm showing the subconscious and the conscious, it relates to how the soul, or how man, and the spirit man, when he became the soul, or when he took on the clothes of the soul, or he took on the clothes of the flesh, those things developed. Those things clung, those particular realities and awarenesses began to form within that fall. Islam, let me move forward. I hope I'm not losing nobody. So let's go to chapter 1. Chapter 1. And we're not going to read the whole thing. First, I do want to start off. It says, time never was when man was not. If life of man at any time began, time would come when it would end. The thoughts of Allah cannot be circumscribed. Y'all got to understand that, you know, what circumscribe means. Circumscribe means basically put boundaries on. You can't put boundaries on Allah. I do want to correct this. Hold on for a minute. And I will make a correction right on the spot.
I see what you did. I'm saving it for my dad. He didn't get it.
Let's see if I can do this question. Yeah, hold on. Let's go into correction, please. Let me correct this because I don't like that. It's just Allah, just as the seed of our bone. Now let's go back. Gotta correct that. Pardon me. Let's get back. Okay. Like I said, circumscribe means you can't put it in boundaries. That means you cannot necessarily fix how you can't understand Allah. The truth of who Allah is, can't understand it. So when you say the black man is God, yeah, but then again, no. Because you're still coming from, you're still trying to describe, you're still trying to define infinite understanding with a finite understanding. If it was that simple, some say, well, we're getting into mystery. God's a mystery. No, God is not a mystery. It's because you don't understand it doesn't make it a mystery. Think past the limits. Can your conscious mind, if you study the mind, you'll understand the layers and the steps, how far between man and Allah is. We're close, but then again, we're far because of the understanding is far. The understanding is distanced from Allah. So, let's go in there. Chapter 1. And I'm only going to read these two phrases, or these two sentences. And if you go further down, because it's not labeled by verses, chapter 1, it just flows. But man, like every other, though Allah was but a seed that held within itself the potencies of Allah, just as the seed of any plant of earth holds deep within itself the attributes of every part, if every part of every. Sorry, once again, I messed up again. We make this correction. Every part of that special plan. So spirit man, okay, there we go. Let's go back. Humility, Lord, humility. Definitely not perfect. But man, like every other, though of Allah was, every thought of Allah, was but a seed that held within itself the potency of Allah, just as a seed of any plant of earth held deep within itself the attributes of every part of that special plant. So spirit man, as seed of Allah, held deep within itself or himself the attributes of every part of Allah. So I hope y'all get that. And I don't know why I'm typing if. instead of. It's kind of acting like my phone, but it's supposed to be of. So spirit man, as seed of Allah, held deep within himself the attributes of every part of Allah. Understand that. Do you understand that? So somebody tell me this is not God consciousness or God realization. Isn't this God realization? And this is going to be part one. This is going to be part 2 videos. I'm going to speak on this next week, inshallah. Isn't this God realization? Islam? Think about it. Just meditate on it. Just this part here. Every part. And like I said, for the sake of time, I'm not going to necessarily go too far in, but let's touch on it. Let's touch on the conscious mind, or the consciousness. Let's go into a little deep. And here's the layers. Along with the body planes, also came levels of consciousness. When you read into the chapter 1, you'll see how the fallen man, conscious plane, had not conscious plane, but spirit man, plane soul, the body of the soul. The soul even took on the body of beautiful of the self. It talks about a separate body. Then it came on a cardinal flesh. It added flesh, but the flesh was different. Islam. So let's talk about conscious mind. We talked about before, it's the frontal cortex. It says, and it talks about here like talk therapy, cognitive therapy, positive psychology, solution-based therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. These are all types of things that deal with when you're applying therapy, from healing and stuff like that. That's basically applies to your conscious mind. You know, your critical thinking, all that. You know, a lot of that is connected to your conscious mind. Critical thinking, logical, based, that comes in the conscious mind. Your subconscious. You said MBR or hypnosis, meditation, art therapy, narrative therapy. You know, your ability to see colors, your ability to dream, your dream state comes from your subconscious mind. Your nightmares, your visions, a lot of that comes to your subconscious mind. Emotional freedom technique, because you talk about emotions come from your subconscious mind. Repetitions, all those type of things. Numbers, even though the logical numbers are logical, they come from your conscious mind. Numbers, stuff like that. Putting them in order. I mean, your numbers come from your subconscious mind. Putting them in order, like interpreting them, expressing them, come from your conscious mind. How do you express it comes from your conscious mind. Your subconscious mind is where it is basically how it develops. Islam, you could talk about how you say the conscious mind deals with the plane of manifest. Subconscious deals with the plane of soul, in a sense of how it connects. Because your dreams come from the astral or soul plane if you deal with metaphysics and those types. Islam. Unconscious mind deals with hypnosis, dream therapy, timeline, regression therapy, past life therapy, root cause therapy, psychodynamic therapy, psychoanalytic. So when people apply therapeutic measures and people who are dealing with more of a metaphysical, alternative, new age concept of therapy. This is their breakdown of the conscious mind, how they would basically deal with their clients on a level of breaking down the mind on what particular methods they can deal with to tap into particular layers of their conscious mind. And these are the layers they try to break down. So you can see past life, that's in the unconscious. Your past life is in the unconscious mind. What is the unconscious mind? The unconscious mind is that which is, it's aware but it's not aware. It's one that is on autopilot. It's on autopilot. And this thing what filters from maybe past life experiences and stuff like that will come through and basically dwell there. And sometimes it'll filter into the subconscious mind, which basically you'll see in the visions and so forth. You'll get your deja vus from the unconscious mind, those type of things. So moving forward. To talk about this. It says levels of consciousness. Okay. Now, you have conscious mind, as we said, physical, interpreting the physical world around you. You're feeding into it as far as determining what's around you, those type of things. You're aware of it. The subconscious mind is with your emotional, all those type of things. As you can see, the word higher astral, lower and higher astral. Okay, so you have two levels where, as you can read within chapter 1, and I'm breaking it down, trying to so you understand that the prophet didn't just just say, "Hey, you're God." He gave you an understanding of why or where you are and why things. He didn't necessarily just tell you God. He said, "You're God, but this is the reason why you're like this, and you're not fully developed." He gave a full explanation, in writing chapter 1. Okay, so we look at chapter 1, and like I said, these are not these are not outlined in verses. So it will be on page 5 of the More Short Quran, if you have the More Short Quran. And it says, and I'm gonna read this. It says, "And these soul attributes became a body beautiful. The multitude of lessons man must learn upon the plane of soul. And here he tarries many ages until his lessons are all learned. Upon the boundary of the plane of soul, the ether began to vibrate slower still, and then the essence took on a final guard. The perfumes and odors and the true sensations and all of love were clothed in flesh, and man was clothed in flesh. A perfected man must pass through all the ways of life, and so a cardinal was full manifest, a nature that sprang forth from the fleshly things. It says without a foe, a soldier never knows his strength, and thought must be developed by the exercise of strength. Boom, thought. Dealing with the conscious mind. Your conscious mind has to be developed. You have to your mind has to dig yourself out of these layers to get back to this level. So the sensations that come from the physical world, the sensations that come from the emotional world, because they are sensations, we have to learn to bypass these. Not bypass, but we have to begin to control these and not allow these to control us. Because there's a whole level of astral, lower astral, higher astral levels. Lower astral, there's a subconscious mind, right? which is connected to the emotional, you know, things that you may experience as a child coming back in the manifest, you know, in the subconscious mind while you sleep and dream, those type of things. Okay? Lower astral, you know, things that may develop out of your experiences are here. Then your higher astral, right? Higher astral is those things that are filtered in from the basically the unconscious mind, right? Your past life experiences, you know what I'm saying? Those type of things coming from the higher astral plane. And then here comes the mental. The mental is basically, you know, your God mind and that, or I don't say the mental, but the mental mind, you know, is basically connected to all these. This goes basically to your mental mind. And then there's the casual, and then there's the cosmic. Okay. And this is where I am. When you feel who, you know, I say, I am that I am, that's an affirmation. That's what Yahweh means. Yahweh means I am that I am. That's your God consciousness. You in your full awareness of who you are. That's why when Moses went on the Mount Sinai, he was in front of a burning bush, right? That burning bush represents consciousness, the light. So who are you? I am that I'm telling you, I am that I am. That was basically affirmation of you reaching the God consciousness. You become I am that I am. Personally, Yahweh is not the absolute. Yahweh is here with the conscious mind, cosmic. I am that I am. It's the realization. Yahweh is the affirmation of the realization between, you know, when man realizes that him and Allah, or him and this absolute, or one, he is the absolute. I am that I am. Okay? That's the realization. That's where Yahweh comes into manifestation. Because remember, if you study the Bible, Yahweh, you know, the first name of God or the attribute God is mentioned is Elohi or Elohim. Okay. And of course, Elohim, or what many have translated Elohim or Elohi, or to Allah. So Allah is the supreme. Allah is the absolute. Okay, that's when the I is gone. There's no I am. You can't, nothing. You just are. It just is. There's no explanation for that. You know, you're back onto the spirit of plane. You know, you're back with Allah. Spirit man is back with Allah. One with Allah. I hope I'm not losing anyone. Islam, I'm going to continue to go on, but you can see the levels of this. And like I said, this is basically what I found as a diagram to, you know, hopefully explain. And as you see, you got the prophets up here, Christ, Buddha, you know, Confucius is also a title in a sense. You know, Muhammad, these are levels. So we honor these prophets. So we honor these prophets because of the levels that they reached. So each prophet was here. Muhammad was here in his understanding because he had to, you know, it took him 40 days, you know, not 30 days within Ramadan fast, but that wasn't the only time he fasted. He always was trying to consecrate himself and discipline himself and dealt with spirituality and the higher things. The manifestation, or what we know as the revelation that was sent down to him, wasn't just what happened to him. You know, he wasn't just chosen to be chosen, you know, because of that time. He developed himself to reach that level, to receive the revelation. You know what I'm saying? Islam, he developed himself. And, you know, to receive that. And what he received was really just a pouring out of his conscious mind from here. And all the things that he learned and developed began to come out. And so you hear the stories that of the Bible still in the Quran and stuff like that because of the things that he studied. But they were now coming out clearly and given back to the people of Arabia. They were giving back their heritage stories because they became distorted through Christianity and you know different levels of Judaism and stuff like that. That's why Muhammad, he actually was part of the secret order. In the secret order, with that order, they were all trying to find, within the members of that order, they all were studying, meditating to seek the original path that was sent down to Abraham. Islam, because it got distorted throughout the times, with the Council of Nicaea had already happened. A lot of the Gnostics or those who were learning the path, they were persecuted. This is where you get your martyrs. Your martyrs weren't necessarily Christians, but they were Gnostics who went against, or those particular Gnostic Christians, or you want to say early followers of that path, who were murdered for not submitting to basically the canon or the Nicene Creed. They didn't submit to the Nicene Creed and the idea of the Nicene Creed, so they were hunted down and persecuted. Their books were burned, you know what I'm saying? Those type of things were confiscated, burned, or whatever, so Islam, I don't want to go from a tangent, but just to clarify, the Prophet Muhammad, he had studied, the scriptures, and it came out. Remember, his people, his clan, the Quraysh, were basically keepers of the Kaaba, so they were definitely in tune to some spirituality. They may not have been, they may have fell to dogmatic and kept it, ritualistic and not necessarily, explored the inner meanings. So this is why Muhammad had to come and reintroduce it to people. So he didn't bring anything new. He just came back. He had to redefine. He had to be refined for the current time. Islam. So I don't want to go on a tangent. Basically, I don't want to tell you. I apologize. Go to the next slide. Okay. Chapter 2, verse 18, 19. So like I said, people believe that God consciousness is not preached, or taught within the more within the more scientific man, or within the prophet, you can. If that's what what most want to believe, that you have that right to believe, but whether that's true, that's not. It's far from true. Far from true. Far from true, brother. For anybody. God consciousness is throughout his teaching. Verse 18 through 19. Teach them that Allah and man are one, but that through carnal thoughts, and words and deeds, man tore himself away from Allah, debased himself. Understand? Just tells you right there. Teach. them that Allah and man are one. Allah and man are one. In essence, there's no difference between man and Allah. Because man's essence is Allah. I don't want to go too. In verse 19, teach that the holy breath will make them one again, restoring the harmony and peace. Now keep in mind of the breath, that word breath. Islam. Let's go forward. So I'm going to try to wrap it up. We are returning to God. Let me take this down here. You understand what this is? Subconscious mind. You got an infinite information, our source, flowing stream of consciousness, subconscious mind, and the ego. Okay. Then you have the ID, the infinite lack, ambition, goals, desires. This is the multiverse, man of both set. Okay, this is dealing with basically you can see Taoism more and so forth. The ego, relative conscious mind, the illusion of the physical reality. As you can see, is right here. The conscious mind is here. The subconscious is here. Conscious mind is here. The duality of the two right here is the illusion of the physical world. When you see the separation of these two, that's the illusion. Okay? The subconscious, of course, this here, this here. It's the physical world, or the illusion of the physical reality. Where there is no physical reality, it's just here. This is your conscious mind here. It's the ego. Because in the ego, we see division. In the ego, we see that the prophet's teachings doesn't talk about God realization. That's the ego. Because you can't connect with it. Or it's dogmatic. Because we can't connect with it. We see that he says Allah and those type of things. But if you really get past it, the ego, you'll see the open of it, that this message clearly brings forth the God realization in man and our people. This is why the more signs support America. And this is not any attack or backbiting on anyone. It'll be a long day somewhere in the future, hypothetically speaking, because most likely it'll never happen, when the More Science of America picks up another book, someone else's book or teaching, incorporate it to find God realization or deep teaching or understanding. These lessons unfold as you continue to read. And God realization is in the midst of every part of this teaching. And it connects you in so many angles on how to reach that God realization. Because it's different between me just telling you. You have to do the work to manifest it. You can't just say, I'm God. That's why we have so many gods walking around in the hood who have the knowledge of God, but they are not manifesting. So many gods locked up in prison. But you God. Tupac said that. That's why he ain't never going to the 5% nation. He said, oh, you God, but why are you in here? If you God, then get yourself out. You know what I'm saying? Islam. This is You know, you have to be humble. You can't just say, I'm God. Okay, you God, but you still live in poverty. You God, right? But you're depending on other people to take care of you. Welfare, food stamps, right? Social Security. You hustle drugs, but you got. You got, but you smoke weed and you drink, which is proven to destroy your neurons, which are connected to your conscious mind, which also supposed to receive messages from your subconscious mind, and so forth and so on. So how can you trace yourself back to God in real time when you destroy those things they need to receive or receive the message or help get you back there? Islam, but you're God. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? It's not that simple. Telling the youth or our people that they're God helps break them out of dogma, which is fine. Because that means they don't have to look towards any other man for the all and all to be all. They don't have to look to an idol to worship because it's within them. That's good, right? But that's not it. You can't just leave them there with that. Because what happens? They just like the parable of the seeds, if it's not cultivated, and depending on who it is, it's either going to get strangled by the weeds, ate up by the fowl, no, by the fowl, but ate up by the swine, or it's going to be lay on the wayside on the hard stone where the roots can't even stick. The roots can't even take place or take root. Because not everybody can receive that message. There's so many people in you know, who had that idea. Rappers put it in their songs all the time. For the last 20 years, you've been hearing that message. Ever since, you know, Rakim and past 30 years. Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, you know what I'm saying? You heard that message. I'm God. You know what I'm saying? Black man's God. You heard it. You know what I'm saying? From the mid 80s all the way to the until now, you don't hear that message too much. Depending on who you listen to. Before you heard that message throughout all the time. But guess what? Other people are saying the same thing. I'm God. Oh, you God? I'm God too. Your enemy is saying I'm God. Those who want to oppress you are saying they God. They've been saying they God. The truth is, you know, we're the genuine are. But until we actually unlock the real realization of God and get out of our ego, it's just something we say. We are. It's a confidence boost. It's not really potent. Islam. They move forward. So once again, if we don't teach God realization, then what is this we find in our questionnaire? It's not no mystery. It's not cliche. You have to understand what is being said, what is being taught. And great meaning is on. Quran questions for the Moorish Americans. And it says, in our first question, who made you? And the Moors will say Allah. Second question they'll ask, who is Allah? And the Moors will respond, Allah is the Father of the universe. The third question will say, can we see him? And the Moors will respond, no. Number 4 will be asked, where is the nearest place we can meet him? And the Moors will respond, in the heart. Right? That's simple. Simple concept, right? Very simple. Simple answers. You don't really think too much of that. You think that's just, hey, Allah's in my heart. You're thinking that's just nice, something to say, and doesn't really have deep understanding or deep meaning implied to it. Well, think about it. The more science is, it's easy to think that and assume that there's no deep meaning to it when you don't have anyone expounding on it. Where's your heart? Now, besides ventricles and veins and blood, 4 chambers to it, you have the essential, most inner part of something. That's a definition for heart. Was the prophet, did he mean your physical heart? Or did he mean the essential, most inner part of something? That's the nearest place you can meet Allah. Right? Then, see, one thing about our prophet, he had a Latin dictionary. So he knew what words he was applying to, because he wanted us to be scientists and look deeper into each meaning of certain words. So according to the Latin to English dictionary, the word anima can be found to correlate with heart. Anima also correlates to spirit, breath, or soul. Remember I said about breath. Verse 19, chapter 2. It said, teach them the holy breath. And that's how you want to return, through your breathing. Your breathing is connected to your consciousness, to your heart. Spirit. It activates the process to get back. As it said in 19, teach the holy breath. Teach that the holy breath will make them one again, restoring harmony and peace. Make them one again. One with what? It's that word one. Because one is mentioned in the previous verse. Teach them that Allah and man are one, but that through carnal thoughts, the words and deeds, man tore himself away from Allah, debased himself. So we'll make them one again, make them one again with Allah, make them one with Allah again. Islam, to make him one with Allah again. You can put that together because that's what it actually connects to. So, closing before I close out, Morris and people. Let me ask y'all a question. Think. If you look at this symbol, I technically didn't even have to go into any written lesson by our prophet. You could just look at our symbol. What you see on our Quran, see on a nationality card, different other things. Now I ask you this question. Which questions talked about God cosmos? We talk about a questionnaire, and the answer would be verse 4. Deals with verse 4, he introduces us to God consciousness. And 7, then, anyone who studies lessons of, any particular school, you usually deal with 7, you're dealing with the divinity, you're dealing with God. Where's the nearest place you can meet him? In the heart. That's where it leads you. Understand. Islam. That's it. Try not to be long-winded. But I tended to. I had to. Well, I didn't have to, but I tend to make that mistake. And I'm actually move to close out more. And like I said, there's so many levels where this lesson could have went. Literature. Morse literature. So you close out the literature in the pocket. We'll be getting shipments of this soon, inshallah. And this prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. Hereby inform all members that they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, and on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. Cause confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom. And when these principles are violated, justice must take its course. And remember, any member or group of members hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet, to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish group, and receive the reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the law laid down to them by their prophet. And if they lose confidence in the prophet, give up their card and button, cease wearing their turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. Well, this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet and the Talik. If the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace with the Quran. to be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I'm glad to know that I have few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth, the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now, by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was only a joke and unreal. And now, since they have found out from the government officials in the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for the earthly salvation, as America says, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. And it's through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds, the ones that pay their divine respects to me and the movement, if you remember. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly, so I do that present so I can show aside the discourse that is facing the nation. It all comes to jealousy because of my fame and ability. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without prophet being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Deuteronomy. Moors are below the meeting. Enjoy the weekend. Hopefully you enjoy the lesson. Of course, I'm open for any questions, any Moors, or anyone about the material I have. And may Allah forgive me if I was incorrect on anything. Let that not be on Allah or his movement or any of the prophets, especially Prophet Muhammad. And because I'm doing a recording, I'm not compelled to actually close out with the prophet's prayer. I only do that when it's actual people in attendance. So I'm just going to load the meeting, and I'm going to say peace and love to all Moors. Happy Holy Day. Be safe. And we'll pick this up next Friday, inshallah. Hopefully for part 2. Peace and love.